Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark's Backyard Birds. Tonight's topic, an age old question, and that is, do I have to feed Niger, or erroneously named thistle, called thistle, to attract finches? I can tell you I've been dealing with this question for 40 years. And when I ran nature centers, we did not even carry Niger slash thistle in our nature center gift shop because, one, it is not grown in this country. And it was never available to goldfinches historically or other birds as well. And it's not as nutritionally valuable as fine sunflower chips. So we're going to talk about this in more detail for tonight's topic. But in short, yeah, no, you don't have to feed nitrogen to attract finches, like some people do believe. So the guest of honor, of course, when you're talking about finches for people, is primarily the American goldfinch. They love to attract them. Probably the second most popular yard bird in North America, behind cardinals, are the goldfinches. Wild canaries, as people call them. And this picture is taken of a tube feeder with these small holes, which are designed to feed the very small seed through. And in this particular instance, the feed mixture in there is black tie, which we call this what we call our finch mix, which is Niger and sunflower chips, and it does feed through the small holes. If you've watched my other finch videos, you know that I always talk about how the reason the first finch feeder was invented is because the gentleman felt sorry for the goldfinches, the smaller birds that got pushed around and bossed around by the larger birds. So he wanted to create a feeder that the small birds could feed from. And so he created that really small opening and smaller perches so that bigger birds have a harder time negotiating those. So with that, a feed that does the fit well through them is the Niger seed, which is the black seed in this feeder. Put this up here. And Niger is a product of the oil product and cooking oil product a lot in the old world, if you will. It's a lot of it's grown in India and Ethiopia, countries like that. It does grow well in poor soils. And it is the primary cooking oil in the European countries. So, like where we cook with corn oil and safflower oil and sunflower oil, vegetable oils, over there, primarily it is the Niger seed that they crush for the oil they cook with. So, all of that being said, they have to import this. All of it is not grown in this country, and it is brought into this country and has to be heated to 500 degrees so it can kill any other weed seeds that might be in there as well. But it also keeps the Niger from germinating. And of course, I hear people say, "Oh, I tried to put that thistle in my feeders and it grew up all over my yard." They're not even the same plant. They're not even related. This is kind of like a tiny black rice seed almost. So, but Niger is, again, not as nutritionally valuable. It's pretty high in fat. So you got and 17% for oil. I'm not protein. I'm not saying that Niger is not a valuable seed for oil and for fat for birds, but it is not as valuable as our native sunflower seeds. Look at the difference between the fine sunflower kernels, which feed out of those little fine, small hole finch feeders, just like the Niger does. But look how much higher the protein is and the fat is. That is a far greater reward nutritionally for the birds especially the little birds like finches or high energy birds. It provides them a lot of energy, especially in the winter months. So I do feed at my house at times. I do feed the finch mix, the black tie, because I feel like it gives them a little bit of nutritional value variation, and let them choose. But people complain about that Niger seed that they're wasting it. Remember, half of that black tiny little seed is a hull, whereas the sunflower kernels have no hull on them, so there's no waste there. So they eat those totally. So why don't more people feed the sunflower chips over the Niger seed? Well, first off, let's make for sure. Yes, absolutely. And a finch feeder, fine sunflower chips works well. They're much better for them. The finches love it. This is a common red pole and 2 American goldfinches on a finch feeder. But the problem for a lot of people is that squirrels love it. Squirrels don't like Niger seed, so it's easy to hang that up there if you have terrible squirrel problems. Now, I've had squirrels chew through a Niger feeder, and I'm convinced that that's because they're just mean and they chew through it. A lot of times the seed just spills out on the ground. They don't even bother with it. So squirrels do love sunflower chips, any kind of sunflower, whole kernels, whole sunflower. They love it all. So if you're going to feed sunflower chips or that black tie, the mixture I'm talking about, you need to be able to protect your feeders from the squirrels. And there's lots of ways to do that. In my yard, I've shown this picture before of a caged feeder. There's a bunch of goldfinches in there. They're feeding, but notice that isn't the little tiny holes that a finch feeders. This is a multi-seed feeder, round holes. Well, the secret here is that the sunflower kernels or chips are very rough, and they stick to each other, and they don't slide out like Nyjer is very slippery, and it can slide out. If you put just straight Nyjer in this feeder, you would have a lot of mess out of there. But with the sunflower chips, you don't have to worry about that. So a regular multi-seed feeder, like this red-bellied woodpecker is clinging to, is great for sunflower chips. Plus, far more birds love the sunflower chips and only a few like the Nyjer. Now, again, that plays into if you just want that feeder to be totally for your goldfinches, and the house finches a little bit, juncos a little bit of it, downy woodpeckers a tiny bit, but for the most part, a Nyjer feeder is going to be just for your finches, whereas a feeder with sunflower chips in it, far more birds will love it. And if you want to restrict that access, you can put it in the small finch feeders, and that'll keep some birds being able to feed from it. The woodpeckers, the downies, and the red-bellies, and even the flickers, they just dart their tongue in those little tiny holes and get it out of it. But it is much more appealing to a greater variety of birds. Now, the mixture that I showed up there, and there's a crude nutritional value here of the sunflower chips and the Nyjer, you notice that the protein value goes down and the fat value goes down because what's happening is the value of the Nyjer is diluting the value of the sunflower kernel. So you can see that there's less value there. So straight sunflower chips are much more valuable. I have some people who just feed black oil sunflower. It is a great food. It has very high nutritional value. The crude fat is super high. The protein is really high, and it is simple. Now, it is messy. You'll get the hole build up underneath the ground. You have to rake up your holes and take care of that, or use seed trays. So if you want to keep it simple and attract goldfinches, black oil sunflower is a definite great viability. Here's a picture from a friend of mine's in winter, and the feeder on the right is just straight sunflower seed and that mesh, and the goldfinches love it. So no, the answer is simply is no, you don't have to feed Nyjer to attract goldfinches. You have alternatives, and if you would rather feed only seed that's grown here in North America, then the sunflower, complete sunflower, black oil sunflower, or any of the sunflower kernels, the fine chips, and they will also eat a little millet. But millet, in my opinion, attracts too many sparrows, so I never put millet in my finch feeders because I don't want the sparrows running off my goldfinches. Is the reason I don't do that. So fine sunflower chips, medium sunflower chips, goldfinches love it, and you don't have to feed the Nyjer seed. So that's a great idea for a program. People ask that, and they have for a very long time. So thank you for sending that in. Please send in more programs, ideas, because we want to talk about what you want us to talk about. Until next time, let's talk birds.